Next slide. Would you rather be persecuted or deceived? And I know that that's a tough graphic to look at. But these are the two beasts.
Yeah. That person very quick.
Okay? Persecution or deception? I've had the experience. I was going to say opportunity. It's not an opportunity. I was going to say fortune. It's not fortune. I've had the experience of being working under two women who had very different points of view in terms of how they would handle things. Neither one of these people were good people. One of them would come up behind you and stab you in your back several times and leave you to bleed out, not knowing what happened. The other one will march straight up to you, sword drawn, cut your head off. Right? They're equally ridiculous. However,
I
prefer to see it coming.
Yep.
Yeah,
On my feet.
Yep.
Yep.
I prefer to see it coming, as opposed to being deceived and I don't have any idea what is going on.
That's right.
I prefer to see it coming.
And so the advantage that the people on the left have is that they saw it coming.
And I know where I stand.
And they are with Christ right now.
I know where I stand. I'm not falling. I'm not standing in the poppy field, thinking I'm with the Father and I'm not. This, I know where I am. I know where I'm going. And okay.
Whereas the picture on the right, this plethora of ideologies that are anti-Christ, all deifying something, even in claiming not to deify anything, deifying something. Okay? This is the contrast of the two beasts. Persecution, deception. Same goal. Same goal. Next slide. Where have we seen this deception in the scripture before? The answer is in Proverbs 7. Steve, if you would, Proverbs 7, 7-23.
I saw among inexperienced. I noticed among the youths a young man lacking sense. Crossing the street near her corner, he strolled down the road to her house at twilight in the evening, in the dark of the night. A woman to meet him dressed like a prostitute, having a hidden agenda. She is loud and defiant. Her feet do not stay at home. Now in the street, now in the squares, she lurks at every corner. She grabs him and kisses him. She brazenly says to him, I've made fellowship offerings. Today I fulfilled my vows. So I come out to meet you, to search for you, and I've found you. I've spread coverings on my bed, richly colored linen from Egypt. I've perfumed my bed with myrrh, aloes, and cinnamon. Come, let's drink deeply of lovemaking until morning. Let's feast on each other's love. My husband isn't home. He went on a long journey. He took a bag of money with him and will come home at the time of the full. She seduces him with her persistent pleading. She lures him with her flattering talk. He follows her impulsively like an ox going to the slaughter, like a deer bounding toward a trap until an arrow pierces its liver, like a bird darting into a snare. He does not know it will cost him his life.
Jesus. During my flirtation with Rastafarianism, I was very much a fan of the band Steel Pulse. And they had a song called Lego Beast, which was based on this passage of scripture. Right? Lego Beast, lips of flattery, Eyes of lust. Lego Beast, carnal love is a must. Lego Beast, feet abide not at home. And it was about this very thing, how sin will entrap you. And it will appear to be affectionate and loving and caring, but the next thing you know, right, there's a hook through your nose, an arrow in your liver. Okay? It's the very same thing. It is the subtlety of the second beast right here in Proverbs. Let's look at that woman. Notice that she feigns righteousness by saying, I've made my offerings, I've fulfilled my vows. Feigns righteousness. The appearance of righteousness and goodness is projected, but it is a deception. Notice that she's married to another person. So in seeking forbidden relationships, she abandons the established God-given rules and societal conventions. In seeking forbidden relationships, she abandons the established God-given rules and societal conventions. Number 3, she actively seeks sin. And what do we know about sin? All sin is a form of rebellion. All sin is a form of rebellion. Number 4, she calls sex love. King James puts it, come let us take our fill of love. By redefining terms, she seeks to broaden or change the God-given understanding outside of the normative parameters. People can say what they want about the Bible not being relevant, okay? But we just read something that is at least 3,000 years old that is relevant right this moment. Let's talk about the subtlety of false teaching, shall we? Sometimes it is so close. Roman Catholicism is so close. It's so close. But then, Mary worship, the teaching that the Pope is infallible, the teaching that Mary is sinless, the teaching that the Pope, the priest becomes another Christ, the teaching that the priest pulls Jesus down from the right hand of the Father and sacrifices him again on the altar during communion, albeit in an unbloody manner. So close. Jehovah's Witness teaching is so close. Right? It's so very close. One would argue that it's one little letter that's sending all those people to hell. Right? John 1:1, the word was a God.
More than that, but yeah, I hear you.
You know what I mean? But the entire thing is built on denying the deity of Jesus Christ.
And all those works.
That's right. Because if Jesus isn't God, then you have to have another system in place. That means then his sacrifice is not good enough. Mormonism is so close. At least on the surface, they have all the stuff. It looks great. But then you dig in and it's craziness. But still, you see, so these things are very, very close. And yet, they're the subtle deceptions of the second beast. Right? Being taught what to think and not how to think or why to think is the second beast. Cultural indoctrination, in particular postmodernism, is the second beast. So one comes like a lion, one comes like a lamb, but they both sound like their Lord the Dragon, and they're both beasts. They seek to cause you to accept the counterfeit in place of the true. Right? One by force and coercion, the other by subtle deception. And this is not new. For John, what was John dealing with? In John's day, it was Christians. Okay, worship God. But 2 days out of the year, just go to the temple and throw a handful of incense in the fire and say Caesar is Lord. Just a couple of days a year. It'll take you 5 minutes. And this way you get to continue to shop. This way you get to continue to operate in the marketplace. This way you get to continue to have employment. Just do that twice a year. No biggie. I mean, Jesus said, render unto Caesar what is Caesar's. Right? So just a couple of times a year, just bend it a little so that you can continue to make it in the society. What can it hurt? But what is it today? What will the Church of God be told to accept or to acquiesce to in order to make peace with the world and survive in the marketplace? The demonic force of political correctness. We must keep in mind that one of the effects of this rampant disease of political correctness is a limiting of speech. Limiting speech limits thoughts. Because without opposing views, you don't necessarily get a chance to think. Right? Limiting speech promotes conformity and fear. In Revelation 13, when we see people saying of the first beast, who is like the beast? That is both a declaration of power and of anxiety. I can't fight him. What am I supposed to do? So limiting speech promotes conformity and fear. Limiting speech limits dissent. Right? Another aspect of this is the complete confusion of postmodernism. Think about where we've gone as a society. The traditional understanding is that there is absolute truth and it can be known. Then you have modernism, which says there is absolute truth, but it's unknowable. And now you have postmodernism, which says there is no absolute truth. And at the bottom is a post that I made to Facebook yesterday that says, we live in an age and culture that holds to postmodernism. One of the claims of this ideology is that there is no absolute truth, which in and of itself is a truth claim. So it cannot, by its own definition, be true. But this means, by extension, then, that each person can and should have their own truth. But doesn't this mean, then, that when everyone has their own truth, nothing is true? That said, why is it then that only certain truths are acceptable while there are some truths that are not? Why are some truths congratulated and others vilified? Okay? This is the deception of the second beast. And because people's speech is being limited and their thought is being limited and they're being taught what to think and not how to think or why to think, it becomes easier to have people just march through in a complete state of blindness like lemmings off a cliff. But the reality is that this makes no doggone sense logically. And people will try to argue with you that it does. It doesn't make any sense. Once everything is subjective and nothing is objective, you can hang it up. This is the second beast at work. We are not waiting for some Antichrist dude of European descent with a fatal head wound. We're not waiting for that. We are in it right now.
Sure.
We are in it right now. We're in it right now. And I posted some quotes. I'm on the next slide now. I posted some quotes that we've covered before. Arturo Azurdia said, the church has ceased functioning as the church when she surrenders herself to the authority of the state rather than holding her position as a prophetic voice to the state and at times against the state. The Apostle Paul said, I beg you that when I am present, I will not need to be bold with the confidence by which I plan to challenge certain people who think we're behaving in an unspiritual way. For though we live in the body, we do not wage war in an unspiritual way, since the weapons of our warfare are not worldly, but powerful through God for the demolition of strongholds. We demolish arguments and every high-minded thing that is raised up against the knowledge of God, taking every thought captive to obey Christ. Meaning what? You can't be a Christian and not think. Meaning also that what? Wisdom is God-inspired knowledge. Right? Though we live in the body, we don't wage war in an unspiritual way, since the weapons of our warfare are not worldly, but are powerful through God for the demolition of strongholds. Meaning what? That is a spiritual strength. And then he goes on to say, we demolish arguments and every high-minded thing that's raised up against the knowledge of God. What's he talking about? Mental things, right? Intellectual things, taking every thought captive to obey Christ. We must be careful, even as we function in the world, not to take on its ways, thoughts, beliefs, or ideals. No matter how convenient, no matter how popular, or what cost we face to resist. Here's another tough one. Who wins here? Right? Who wins? You see the picture of the two Coptic Christians being beheaded by ISIS. Who wins?
The followers of Jesus win. This is something that happens in a moment in time, and time is a blink. Anyone choosing deception is behaving as though they're never going to stop breathing. And they will. Everyone will stop breathing one day. And then all the deception is empty.
Mm-hmm. So even though they thought they were winning as they were cutting these men's throats, and in the moment, it did look like a victory. They walked away from the encounter, the other men did not. But Jesus said, Luke chapter 12, verses 4 and 5, and I say to you, my friends, don't fear those who kill the body, and after that can do nothing more. But I will show you the one to fear. Fear him who has authority to throw people into hell after death. Yes, I say to you, this is the one to fear. He's reiterating what Scripture says. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Start there. 1 John 5, 1-5, everyone who believes Jesus is the Messiah has been born of God, and everyone who loves the Father also loves the one born of him. This is how we know that we love God's children, when we love God and obey his commands. For this is what love for God is, to keep his commands. Now, his commands are not a burden, because whatever has been born of God conquers the world. This is the victory that has conquered the world, our faith. And who is the one who conquers the world but the one who believes that Jesus is the Son of God? These men conquered the world. These men conquered the world. Revelation 2, verses 10-11. Don't be afraid of what you're about to suffer. Look, the devil's about to throw some of you in prison to test you, and you will have affliction for 10 days. Then he says, be faithful unto death, and I will give you the crown of life. Anyone who has an ear should listen to what the Spirit says to the churches. The victor will never be harmed by the second death. You see it? Depending on the perspective you have, you will have one level of understanding or another about what this picture symbolizes and what it really means for us.